Sarasota, West Wall Boats, kayak experts selling the only pedal kayaks with a reverse, pedal forward or backwards. Need a paddle fishing board, SUP, or kayak? You need West Wall Boats shallow water outfitters. Comfort is king. In a native ultimate angler watercraft, you are king. If standing is your thing, they have paddle fishing boards complete with a Yeti. If you can dream about doing it, West Wall can help get you there. WestWallBoats.com. WestWallBoats.com. Located next to Giggles on Tamiami Trail, Sarasota.
Cow. So we just landed about 150 to 65 pound tarpon. We're now floating to Reviver, running her through some water.
Well, good morning, everybody. It's a beautiful Saturday morning. It's the 26th of April, and looks like it's going to be a great day to go fishing. I got to talk to Scott Larsen about the last month of snook season here on the Gulf Coast of Florida. So if you're looking to catch some snook and you want to, if you do take them home, it's up to you. But you definitely make sure you have your snook stamp, and this, of course, is the last month that you can get the stamp and take them home if you want to. And so really cool snooks fishing out there. Scott talks to us about that, about conservation, also about the I.F.A. tournament. He should be waking up right now at 6:30 a.m. I'm sure he's probably on the road already. Him and I believe his son Stevie are going up there, and it's an I.F.A. Redfish tournament. It's in Titusville this weekend, and I believe first prize is a brand new boat. So that's really cool. And really wish him the best of luck, and hope they get some pictures and videos. And but we're going to talk to Scott. We recorded this yesterday morning, and I just had a conversation a little bit about the tournament, the waters, the fishing, had a site for snook and redfish. Scott's really good. He gives us some great information, whether you're fishing Charlotte Harbor or up around Tampa Bay, St. Pete area, the inland waters, and even the shoals along the Gulf Coast. He gives us some great advice about how to get those big snook and really how to sight them and find them. But we're going to go right out to Scott, and then we'll be back after we're done with Scott and go over some other things. Local fishing's been great. We're going to talk about that a little bit. And don't forget, Saturday morning, get out to T&T Bait and Tackle. They're on the foot of the Elgin Bridge. They got really nice looking shrimp. They usually have, and I believe they did get some other baits like white baits, shiners, stuff like that, pinfish. So just check in or give them a call and find out. Also, if you're up around Englewood Beach, in that area, go into Captain Jack's. That's the Englewood Bait House. If you're going down Beach Road heading toward the beach, they're on the right side just before the first bridge. And when you go in there, they've got a great variety of bait. They've got gas, they've got ice, they've got boat rentals, charters, all kinds of stuff right there. Can't miss them. That's the Englewood Bait House. You can call them at 941-475-4511. And also T&T Shrimp in Elgin. That's Tim and Tanya out there. Give them a call if you want to find out what kind of bait they have. 941-625-5367. And I know that they were selling some crab chum last weekend. Worked really good. People were all over redfish and cobia. They're great fishing chum. I don't know if they have any left. You may want to give them a call. Again, they're at the foot of the Elgin Bridge. They got a great pier right across the street. You can go to fish, go right to fishing as soon as you buy your bait and tackle. Same thing over at the Englewood Bait House. You can buy your bait and tackle and walk right across the street to the pier and do a little bit of fishing. So it's pretty cool. Okay, we're going to head out to Scott, and we'll be back in a minute, and let's go to Scott.
Hello?
Hey, Scott, how you doing this morning?
Pretty good. How you doing, Frank? You doing all right?
Oh, yeah. Matter of fact, I got up, started looking at the weather, and thought, wow, this is a great day to get out. You guys are going to have some beautiful weather for that tournament this weekend, that's for sure.
I can't wait. I'm really excited. We haven't been in Titusville probably in a couple years. We're going in blind fishing this, but I'm still excited. I can't wait.
Oh, yeah, and it's great. I mean, the way they have it set up, great prizes. You get to walk away with a boat if you come out first, and there's something for everybody. Other secondary prizes, first, second, third, and other stuff. So that's really cool.
Yeah, it's all the way. It pays all the way to 20th place, and it's just a fun tournament, and it's a challenging tournament. I love it. redfish ain't easy to catch and get in that slot limit, you know.
Oh yeah, you know, that's probably the trick right now. Everybody that's you know, in Facebook posting pictures, stuff like that, you know, they've got a little bit smaller and a lot of gigantic redfish. I mean, there's just some big ones out there, but that slot size, getting into that regulation size is tough.
Yeah, it is tough. That's what happened last year. Not last year, about 3 years ago. Last time we was down there with Steven, and that's all we did. We caught like 7 or 8 oversized fish. And what was so bad about it, it was only like a 1/4 inch over. And you're like, why? You know? You know, no, not again. You know, it's like, oh, it's going to make it. It's going to make it. No, it ain't going to make it, you know? And but at least we was catching fish, but it was, it's a heartbreaking when you catch oversized fish like that.
Right, you know, you look at some of these fish, you lay them across that ruler and think, wow, if he's a little bit fatter, he may not be so long. Why did this happen? You know, it does happen. Understand that?
Yeah, that's right. You know, everybody's like, oh, they're eating crabs and stuff. That's why their tails are purple. No, they're out of breath because you've been reeling them in. You know.
Yeah, they should see me after I run around the block a time or two if I make it twice.
Yeah, that's right. I can barely get in the mailbox, and I'll be purple. You know. Come back and eat a cupcake or something. You know?
Yeah, exactly. A little protein. Have it.
Yeah, that's right. Well, yeah, but it's a fun tournament, Frank. I mean, I enjoy fishing this tournament, though.
Oh yeah, like I said, I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. I know you guys are going to get some great pictures and some video up there, and you know, it's a beautiful weather. It's a great time for it. You know, with the rains and everything, there's a lot of fresh bait washing into these lakes and into the estuary. So really great to see it.
Yeah, it's really they're catching big trout over there. Them guys been over there all week already, and I'm going in there blind, but, you know, they're in there catching big trout, 8-9 pound trout right now over there.
Oh, I can imagine. You know, right now, like everybody says, they're spawning, so the big ones are really up here in the shallows, and so you can get them now. I mean, they're definitely out there. And on that coast or Titusville, that area's just got monster fish. I mean, it's beautiful, incredible fish over there. It really is.
Yeah, they got some lot of oversized reds. You know, you go up, further up the Mosquito Lagoon area, up in that area, and they're just like 30, 40 pounders. Imagine catching them on top water.
Oh, absolutely. You know, we talk to a couple of pro staffers out there a couple of times a month too, and you know, that whole area is just beautiful. It's unique. And a lot of it's untouched. So, you know, even if you're up there fishing around some of the areas and trying to learn the waters, you know, going in fresh, I don't know, it might be an advantage for you. So you may not actually zero in on one place one day that's not good the next. It happens all the time. So, you know, that area is pretty tricky, and it's a nice area.
Yeah, and it's really shallow. You got to be real careful. A lot of these people got really small boats, and you can still get in trouble. You got to have a good GPS for that. You know, they got a little bit of channels in different areas, but when you run south down, the Mosquito Lagoon, and it's just, you could get in trouble down in there.
Well, you know, knowing the waters too, you're used to Florida waters, so when you're looking at any waters around Florida, you have to be able to tell, a deep section from some seagrass or some darker dirt, a sediment that settles down there. So if you make that mistake of thinking, hey, there's some deep water over there, let me see if I could scoot in there while I got a little, don't get too thin, and you'll end up in a mess. So guys like you know those waters, you know what to look for, you know the color, so you don't get tricked as often as people that aren't used to it.
Yeah, you got to wear good sunglasses and just, check it out. If you're not in an area, you're not used to, and just keep that GPS, because it tells you how deep everything is now. It's so up to date with everything. Well, it could be that rock, or somebody left the crab trap there. Yep. It's so easy to get hit something.
I tell you, Scott, it's hysterical too. I was out with my dad out here, and he always sits there. He can't see too well, he can't hear too well. He's got to be around 78 now, I believe. And
oh man.
Oh yeah, but he still goes. He don't care. I mean, he's got gout, he's got all that, but he's going fishing, and he gets out there and
that's great.
Oh, you got to stay active, and he loves it, and it keeps him moving. But he's looking at this GPS, and sometimes they're too accurate, and he's going, hey Frankie, what I don't understand this. Why is the bridge over here? And I look at it, I said, well, you got to understand that the GPS switches you and it turns you as the bow of your boat turns. So, as you're changing magnetic north and your boat's facing a different way, it turns the picture for you. So he's like, oh, wow, I hate that, but if you're not used to it, they're too accurate. I mean, it's incredible how accurate they are.
It's great because it does help you out. If you got a higher boat, you can look, and it's kind of tricky when you're in a tower boat because it looks like it's deep enough, but it messes you up because it's so clear. And it looks like it's only like a couple inches, and it'd be maybe a foot or two,
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, and this is true, though. We were way up the I.F.A one day, and it gets pretty shallow in those marshes up there. And there's a couple of guys that have, they got those super high, sights on their boats and towers on them. And, I've looked at them many times because I've been on airboats, and I've hit ground on airboats, and I know what can happen if you're moving along pretty good and catch the bottom. And, this guy's scooting along the flats out there, and he just wasn't paying attention, and he caught some real thin water, and he's lucky he didn't break his legs. I mean, it stopped that boat quick, and I thought it was actually going to go over. It hit so hard. But, you've got to know those waters. You got to take your time, and, those platform boats, they're nice to sight, they're great to see and everything, but you got to be careful because, again, you can know the waters well and not be able to tell a dark bottom, a grassy bottom from an actual, a deeper area or a channel. Get yourself in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing, you see another guy out there and he's push pulling, you kind of think it's shallow.
Oh, yeah.
And if you see birds standing in the water, it's going to be shallow. All them little key things can help you out. Watch for the birds. Look for bait, see what it's doing.
Oh yeah.
Look for the dolphins. If the dolphins are up there, everything can kind of help you out.
Oh sure. Just observing the environment out there. It's true. We fish around these little keys around the harbor, and you could get up from the shoals up to the key area and actually see the difference in the wave sizes. The waves start to diminish approaching the flats. So you could really, you could get a good mental picture of, where that line is and be able to fish the flats line or the keys line without really getting hung up. But you just gotta, like you say, you gotta stop, you gotta look, you gotta pay attention, and read your environment. That's absolutely the truth.
Yeah, I can't wait to go fishing though because I want to go play around fish today, but I gotta get ready for the tournament. Them snook are on fire over here too.
Absolutely, we're seeing, like I said, we're seeing just huge snook. This is last month, I believe, for the Gulf of Mexico, and the Atlantic side, I think they get an extra 30 days than we do here. So if you're not out there and you're not catching them this month, get your permit, get your snook stamp, and even if you're not going to keep the snook, get the snook stamp anyway. It actually goes towards some good causes. It goes to restoration and maintaining the environment in our estuaries. So even if you're not going to keep the snook, you're just going to take a picture of it, go out and spend, I think they're like $10 or something now. So it's,
it's something like that, but it goes towards the spawning a hatchery now for it now. It's been a couple years since the freeze, and now to release them like they used to do with the redfish, and it's growing strong now.
Beautiful.
But the last year, it's really booming because the snook are really, I can really see the fishery really picked up, and the big fish they're catching 40-inch snook in Tampa right now on Clearwater Beach. They're trying to go in the passes now, but try to release these snook. I know you could catch an E1 but if you catch a trophy and if you really don't need the food, you need to try to save the fishery, so somebody else could catch it too.
That's so true. And I always say that too. I agree with you, Scotty. I know a lot of people here in Southwest Florida that if they didn't go out and fish for food, honestly, they wouldn't have a meal for their family that night. And this is the absolute truth. So I can understand anybody that goes out and they need to take fish home, and the money that they put into their fishing pole, what they could afford, hopefully is going to end up on their dinner table and feed their family. So that's one thing, absolutely. And everybody wants that trophy too once in a while, which is unique. But for the average person, honestly, I could go up here and buy some pretty nice fish from a local fishery that's paying one of the local commercial guys that go out here and fish for it, and have a great meal and a great fish for a great price. So, if it could be avoided, I always say that too, kind of release it, get some nice pictures, stuff like that, and let the little guy go or the big guy go, and we'll get him again.
Yeah, because, you want them big breeders, the pictures. We got these cell phones now, just, take a whole bunch of pictures. And I take like 30 pictures, and then I get different angles, have the best picture, and then you got it for life. But then that fish swims on. But I understand if you need the food. I remember in Jacksonville, we wasn't too rich, but that's what we had to survive on was oysters, shrimp, mullet, redfish, trout, and and we had farms up there, and that's just a way of life. But and it's going to be stronger, and everybody needs just to help out.
It's true. I'm real down on laws. I've always been a small government kind of person. So, I've always said, we all know what we need to do. We don't really need somebody to write it out in big letters and stick it in front of us. Don't keep this if you don't need it. Don't run over manatee. Don't, I understand all that. And, like you, I'm super careful. And unfortunately, not everybody is. So I understand why we do have those laws and rules. But,
yes.
Like you say, Scotty, it's common sense. If you don't really need it, and anybody that's going out there fishing, any anglers are going to go, we're out there because it's just beautiful. We love to be out there. My dad, when we were younger, he was a spearfisherman. And back in the 70s, there was very little regulation on it. And now, I asked him, you ever think about spearfishing again? He's like, I don't think I could get under there and shoot those fish. They're just beautiful, and I don't really need them now. So, opinions change. And if you don't really need it to eat anymore, you kind of get a different look, at the fish, the estuaries, and our environment as a whole. So it's pretty cool. I love to see that catch and release. And you know what? Like the tournament you're going in, usually you got to bring the fish in live. And if they're not released, they're either donated to a local zoo or maybe a bird sanctuary, something like that.
Yeah, they got the problem with the pythons. Now they're killing the alligators. People are releasing different exotic pets in our ponds like Oscar fish. We got a pond over here. You're sitting there, you're fishing, and you go, that's a big old bluegill, and it's an Oscar fish, and people just got to be careful releasing what they in the different environment too.
Absolutely. In fact, there was a guy on Facebook it must have been about 2 weeks ago. He had a picture of a fish up, and he had a question. Anybody know what this is? I think it's a triple tail. And he caught it up the Caloosahatchee River just past the power plant up there. And I looked at it, and I knew what it was as soon as I saw it. It was a big tilapia. And so he's like, well, I went fishing for bluegill, and I had no bluegill at all, but I caught, a bunch of these things. And what happened was there was actually a tilapia farm upriver, and a couple of them got loose and got into the Caloosahatchee, and now there's a population wiping out the baby bass and the bluegill coming down the Caloosahatchee. So, the fishery department now is like, you know what? Kill them, net them. We don't care how you get them out of the water. But if you catch them, even if you don't want to eat them, just leave it on the bank for the birds. So, once people release these into the environment, I mean, they just go crazy. They start populating, wiping out the indigenous fish.
Yeah, because they eat everything. They'll probably go in the beds and stuff when they're spawning, and go in there and eating all the eggs and. Just like mudfish and everything, they eat a lot of bass, and they can destroy a lake too pretty good.
And like you say, those Oscars, I mean, they're a very, very aggressive cichlid, and generally if they get into a freshwater environment, they're going to wipe out every egg, every baby, everything in there, and take over, and they reproduce so fast that they actually move through the water like a school of jacks, just wiping out everything that they come across. So they are.
Yeah, they're a vicious little fish. I mean, we had one in the tank. We used to mess with. We used to play with. I don't know why we did it, but it was kids throwing plastic worms in there with a pole. We was bored because we couldn't fish, and he was just tearing up, man. And they're a vicious little fish. Put minnows in there, and he would just chase them around.
Sounds great, Scotty. We sure appreciate it. And again, good luck to you guys, and have a wonderful weekend and a safe trip out there.
Thanks for having me on the show again, and I enjoyed it. Thank you.
Oh, you bet. Bye-bye now.
Well, it's always a great conversation talking to Scott. I really wish him the best of luck up there in Titusville, the I.F.A. Redfish tournament. He's fishing, him and his son Stevie, and hopefully they'll come home with a brand new boat. And wish him the best of luck and great advice, in conservation and really keeping the estuaries and the fishery stocked and healthy. If you don't eat it, you don't have to take it home. Release it. Be careful when you're handling it. There's a lot of rules about picking up a fish by its lip. If you're not going to take it home and you're going to release it, it's always better to keep the fish in the water, to use a lipping tool to pick it up with plastic that doesn't stretch its gills or hurt its gills or really scar it up or anything. So, I understand if you're keeping it, sure, absolutely pick it up. You're going to throw it in your live well, bring it home and eat it. If you got to eat a fish, eat the fish. But if you're going to let it go, be real careful with it. And Scott, I sure do appreciate it. Great advice and sight fishing, watching out on those flats. Be careful in that thin water. You can get hung up pretty quick. And sounds like he's really getting in the zone to fish that tournament. So wish him best of luck. And fishing here locally, I'll tell you what, I've been spending a lot of time over there by Captain Jack's and also TNT Bait and Tackle. Both of those areas have piers, and I like to pier fish, and I like to do a little wading. And so it's just great to get out there and do some fishing. And there's just gigantic trout all over the place. Right now the trout they're breeding, they're spawning up here in the rivers, and there's some really big, nice, healthy trout. Again, you can catch some nice trout, topwater, whether you're using topwater baits, live baits. Matter of fact, both places over at TNT on El Jabin, I noticed that they were using live shrimp that they bought there and just tossed out there with a really light weight and let it pull a little bit along the bottom on an incoming tide. And they were just pulling trout out left and right, beautiful. And same thing, if you use pieces of shrimp, you're around those piers and you want to get the sheep's head, or you're looking for those snapper, you want to get up along the mangroves and the roots, you could use a piece of the shrimp, put it on a jig head. They have little jig heads that have little noise makers, little shakers in them, and make a little knocking and a ticking noise, when you jerk them along the bottom. So you can really get creative and get on all kinds of different fish. But both areas are doing great. I know out on the artificial reef, if you like Kobe, if you like shark, you're going to get them all over there. Things just don't change week to week out there this time of year. The water's getting warmer, the fish are getting a little more aggressive, a little bit bigger. And also as the tides get higher in the summertime, we're going to start getting clearer water coming up until those afternoon rains when the river starts flowing out. It gets a little bit dirtier then. But we have a window of opportunity before those heavy rains come in the next few weeks to get some nice big fish up here in the Charlotte Harbor and the river areas. So if you're around Hog Island, you're on the Myakka, you're coming around the cutoff, you're going North Rotunda, out of the locks there in the North Rotunda area, the West Wall, there's fish everywhere. You just can't miss. If you're not catching fish, go into one of the local bait shops, go into TNT, go into the Englewood Bait House, ask them, what are people catching, what are we using? I walk out on the pier, I've got some clips of that on our, the fishyfins.com radio network you can check out and just talk to people. I went out on the pier over at Captain Jack's at the Englewood Bait House on the foot of the bridge, and the guy caught a flounder while I was there. A nice little flounder, so the water's actually getting nice and clean and warm enough for the flounder to come pretty close in. So some great fishing out there. Get out there if you're up in the rivers now. If you're using top water, you're trying to get tarpon. You're pulling a shiny bait on the top. They're out there. You're going to get big ladyfish. You're going to get tarpon. You're probably going to get into some mackerel as you get outside of Boca Grande. You can work up through Cape Hayes. You get inland in there. You get into Turtle Bay. Those areas just putting. Excuse me, I need more coffee. Putting out some beautiful big redfish. Make sure you have a boat that can get up in those shallows because it definitely gets pretty thin up in there. And with jerk baits, getting back there with little jerk baits, you can use white jerk baits, the gulp jerk baits, those work great. Impact has all kinds of great baits. Banks Lures has all kinds of great baits. So, you can just get in there and have a great time with it. So get out there, go fishing, have a fantastic weekend. I'm heading out probably with Pop later on, and I don't know what we're going to do. I think we're going to run around the bridge and maybe around Alligator Bay. And I think there's a low tide about 10:30 or so, someplace around there, 9:30 or 10:30. And personally, when I'm in Charlotte Harbor and the tide goes out, I love to get up in the canals. I go walk around the mangroves and throw top water, and there are snook. They just get bottlenecked in those canals because they can't hide up in the mangrove roots. So I catch snook all over the place on low tide, all around Alligator Bay, all those little canals. Even, especially there's an area at the end of Midway, if you have a kayak or a canoe or a john boat, a john boat or even a flats boat, you can get in there. And it's an old tuckaway where they used to have an old storm lock there that the Army Corps of Engineers took out decades ago. Actually, I think about 15 years ago. And so there's a little cove back in there, and when the tide goes out, there's just a nice deep hole that just fills with fish. So you can get all kinds of fish in that little channel, those little holes back there, and even where the channel empties out into Alligator Bay on the outside by the markers, those flats, they do really good. So, get out there, have a great time fishing, get some bait, get your lures, get your boat going, call up dad or call up your son or call up your daughter or call up your mom, or call up your sister or call up your brother, and get out there and get together and have a great day. And again, you see me coming towards you. I've got a mic, I've got a camera, I'm asking a lot of questions. Not the game warden, not the IRS, just me over at fishyfins.com, Frank, looking for a fish story, and I'd appreciate it if you just be cool and give me one. Have a great day out there fishing.